Alright guys, welcome back. Scott Matthews, Australia, Sopwith Camel, radial powered, Remembrance Day. Let's remember. Alright guys, I'll do a bit of talking to the camera while I have my first coffee of the morning so you can actually see me. We'll address a few concerns, I guess, that you guys may or may not have had. Also, just be aware that sometimes I've already solved the issue when you're commenting, because there's no date, time, if you like. It is Remembrance Day here in Australia, 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month. We will remember them. So that puts a bit of a date, time stamp on this little clip anyway. And then when I get enough footage, I sort of just make a video. I am aware, firstly, I appreciate all you guys watching and all your input. It's really fantastic. I am aware sometimes I say the wrong things, you know, left instead of right, aileron instead of rudder, you know, supersonic instead of 60 knots. So what I'm getting at is my editing's a bit rough around the edges, I guess. A lot of people enjoy that. I also film my thought processes. I use a GoPro 9, which don't buy a GoPro 9. It gives me a lot of, the touch screen doesn't work, and when I'm talking to the front like this, I need to tell it the microphone's at the front. I've got this little media mod thing on there, because if I don't use that, I think the lights, something in the hanger anyway, makes the audio go tick, 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 tick. Anyway, third world dramas. The Cabane struts, which people pointed out, yes, I'm fully aware of those, like terminology. And the Rothingham or Rotherall pump is I know I could have Googled it, but it's an air pump to pressurise the fuel system. Fantastic. And that reminds me up here, so I did mention a PAW 80, well, I call it a PAW 80, little diesel engine. Fantastic little engines if you ever played with those. I used to mix up, what was it, as a really rough mix, kerosene, ether and castor oil, 30%. We did add a little, I forget what it was, 2% of isopropyl alcohol or something like it. Wasn't that, but it sounded like that, as an ignition improver. I've still got some at home actually, because every time I open the cupboard I can smell the castor and the ether that's in there. Bit hard to get hold of ether now, but if you do need that sort of stuff, your local control line guys seem to have that. Up on the wall here, here's my Nationals winning, well no, that one didn't win the Nationals. That's a flying carpet, and it's got a let me be correct because people will correct me, it's a Mil 75, but it's the replica, the cheap version, which is a bit smaller. It's similar, it's a little diesel engine, and I've got plenty of leftover propellers from the RC days. I do remember one of the first times I met Peter Goldsmith, actually. I think it was the Ballarat Nationals. I had a Nelson 40 powered Playboy, which Peter was interested in. So if you're in the RC world, everyone knows Peter Goldsmith. And he's actually helped me a bit on the Camel project, verbally, by messages. Yeah, I was running a Nelson 40 and a Playboy old timer for duration. I think we had a 17-second engine run, and I sort of said, running such a big prop, he laughed and thought, is that a big prop? Because at the time he was flying Tournament of Champions, you know, massive caps, and I had I'm pretty sure it was 11 3/4 by 3 3/4 prop on a little Nelson 40 to go vertical. Little story for you. Right, let's get to the Camel. So the cooling, yes, I've closed off a lot, and later on in this video I'm going to fit the rubber and we'll get the engine mount on. One of the concerns I've got with that, I guess, well, a lot of people have asked, have I closed off too much? I sort of learnt along the way with RC and also with the Cruiser. If you look at the Cruiser, it's all baffled off, if the camera can see in there. There's a lot in the cooling. And also note you can't see the engine or any oil leaks, which is... Turn you back around so you can hear me properly. Once I cowl up the engine here, you're not going to be able to see a lot. Just name drop a few people in this video. Chris Wilson up in Queensland, he's flying this exact setup. So he's one of the people that I'd listen to, because it's not hearsay or anything like that. Because believe me, there's a lot of hearsay around with this engine. So with the cooling, I think I'll go what looks like too much, and it's easier to open it up at a later stage. So I'll spin you around and see where we're up to. Okay, one of the things was the oil. It's a bit messy for me, to be honest. It's not a leak. Well, it's not leaking anywhere. I've got a slight, if I do this, got a tiny bit of oil on this rocker cover, so you get to know your engine. The reason I knew that is because it would miss my little kiddie's pool down there and drop on the floor. Is it worth pulling it apart to try and seal? No, not at this stage in my books. I will start a logbook very soon, and things like that would just be annotated to monitor the situation, if you like. Once I cowl this up, I'm not going to be able to see a great deal. One of the things I've sort of like to do, under here, I've got there's a ball bearing in the tube in the induction intake. So as you spin the prop, give it 8 blades, so 4 revolutions complete. When the valves open, you can see the oil release. Now once it's cowled up, say the blade has to be at 6 o'clock and this valve is open, and then if I pull it through too quick, because I won't be able to see this anymore, it's going to it takes a while, especially with cold oil, to transfer down here and then finally leak out. So I just have to take my time to do 8 blades, clunk, let it sit, to see if any oil comes out. Now that's not, a few people were concerned about oil leaks. What that is oil sitting in the induction trunk. And the danger there is hand propping and starter motor won't pull the oil in, but when you hit ignition, so I'm told, it can suck the oil in and it will pop the cylinder or bend a rod, more to the point, with hydraulic lock, destroy the engine. So I won't be able to see that anymore, so I just need to pay attention when I hand prop the engine. CHT, I was going to run the engine today, so there it is right there on the number 1 inboard induction manifold bolt. The reason it's on there, because that's what the manual says. I could move it, put it under the spark plug or somewhere else, even on the exhaust manifold. I want to keep it there because that's what the manual states, and then what am I trying to say? I've got the same information as everyone else. Hey, what's your CHT? You know, if someone's got one here and someone's got one on here, it's apples and oranges. I want to keep it as apples and apples, if that makes sense. What other concerns? Is there enough air at the back? I got no idea. Is there enough air coming out? No idea. I'm pretty happy with the front, and the new engine, I'm going to tie it to a flagpole and run it at full revs once we get to that stage. I'll get the engine running soon once I know the CHT works. Well, today I think, because it's raining, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'll do one final check of the CHT. I might try and heat the cylinder from this side for argument's sake. You've got to be a bit careful with the heat gun. You don't want to melt seals or anything like that. And then put the cowl on once I get the baffling back on, and might even do my little gold plaque on the front there. I also bought some balsa wood in from home, and I'm going to attempt, I'll carve up a little torpedo, a little fun job there. Let's get into it. My hands are too cold. Beautiful. And just while I think of it, guys, I'm building the Camel. If you jump on YouTube, if you enjoy this sort of building, Tim Shaw over in the UK, Shaw as in S-H-A-W, he's building a Newport 11 or 17, like the square one with the all-flying tail. Doing a great job over there. He's just started framing up his Newport, and yeah, jump over to his channel and have a look if you are interested in that. So another thing I do when I'm out here is daydream about my next project, believe it or not. I've got a nice space in the hangar here, lends itself to a low wing. Toying with the idea, will there be another project? Probably. I just love building. Keeps me busy and occupied, as much as I might complain at times. There's like a 7/8 scale, or might be 3/4 scale Fokker Eindecker. If I went the Basley aircraft again, would I fly that? Probably not. I even considered you could do it like an RC ugly stick, you know, the original ugly stick. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. But you sort of sit with your head poking out of, well, it's a Fokker Eindecker, you know, where you'd sit. You've got to weigh up. It's fun to do, but the hardware is the killer. And that thing has a lot of flying wires, and which means turnbuckles, and yeah, it's something I'd probably build and then sell. I've also been getting the itch again for the RC stuff. Why I'm on this video of name dropping. My Facebook comes up, pronunciation might be wrong. Stefan, is it? Stefan or Stephen Rule? He flies big RC gliders. If I got back into it, I reckon I'd just stick with the gliders, you know, and then maybe a couple of control lines, 2 free flight models, a tug plane, a slope soarer, you know, a couple of jets, a seaplane, discus launch glider. You know how it goes, guys, if you're in the hobby. But I'd try and probably stick to one discipline. I've got space here. I could build a massive glider, like half scale or something. I know you can buy the Bill Hempel kits and that sort of thing. What would I build? I did have the plans there for a partially cut kit. Slingsby T21, the Tudor, I think it is. It's got no nose and sort of side-by-side seating up the front in the Air Cadets colour scheme. I like that. Or I think it's a Schweitzer 233 do a massive one of those. Dragon RC had a 5 metre kit out, I think, there for a while. So I've got a 14-foot bench, so do a 28-foot wingspan scale glider. Would be pretty cool. But stand by on that. That's just how I daydream. Well, how about a glider built using aluminium and rivets? I've got all the gear here, I'm tooled up. It's not very forgiving though. You can't beat balsa wood where you can, you know, shape it. Okay. Wow. Basically blocks out the whole aircraft. Everything's just loosey-goosey at the moment. And that'll fold back. So I'll whip around, do all those up. Realise how cold it is trying to get little nuts and bolts on. That's pretty impressive in my books. How's it going to breathe, guys? Well, the air goes through and around. It looks like it's blocked off, but it goes around. So the air will go around and, for instance, come out where it should. You know, induction, no idea for the TBI. You can learn with me as we go. Probably won't find those things out until it actually flies. I'm almost at that point now where I have to start procrastinating, because one day I'll have to hop in this and try and fly it. Speaking of which, have I got a license? No. For a tail dragger. So I'm a 0 hour, it's like a teenager driving a Ferrari. So for insurance purposes, but the chance of a ground loop or worse, I'm not, you know, I understand there's a fair chance of a ground loop, or what do they call it, a runway incursion. I'm okay flying the old Hustler Mark III, but we're good. So just while I'm on that, guys, I guess, and feeling nice and chatty today, as far as licensing goes, and a few people have asked about inspections, you do 3 stages along the way. Obviously, if you're going to cover anything up, whereas this aircraft, you can still see basically everything from inside the cockpit if you needed to, the cable runs, as opposed to like sealing up a wing, an aluminium wing. So I've had, what have I had? Maybe only 1 at this stage, maybe 2, I can't remember. It's been a 2.5 year project. It'll be 3 years next March. And I'm up to about, I stopped counting to be completely honest. Let's call it 2,500 hours to completion, something like that. I stopped counting at about 2,000 hours. This is where YouTube comes in. I use YouTube as my build log, and I'll submit a link, if you like, to my channel, to RAOs. Then you need things like, it needs to be placarded in the cockpit, which I've got. There's a couple of warnings in there. The max takeoff weight, and you know, fly at your own risk. This is an experimental aircraft. I'm not sure if I need that in a single seat. That's mainly for passengers. I just copied what I did on the cruiser. Registration numbers are laid out 150 mil, and even with those on a sport aircraft, I had to ask permission to have it, what's that, italic, leaned over, and even I got permission to put shadowing on the letters to get that approved. I'm yet to, I think I vaguely remember reading somewhere, I don't need, like, it's not registered yet, so when it is registered it'll get a 19 number, which probably just goes in the cockpit. I don't need to put it on the side, and if you've been following along, that's fictitious, just the year it was predominantly built, which I need to get a move on because, yeah, it's almost a couple of years old. Where did I get to? Let's do these up and throw the cow on.
Yeah.
Alright, there's a rough fit. Just use some bolts to get me started. Now I'll just work my way around, and you can see we're sealed up all the way around. I'll screw it on and then I'll pull the rubber out, hopefully. Gets me every time, that one. Okay, cowl is on. I don't use it, I don't like using it, but I use the drill on a torque setting of 1 to do all those up. It gives me a consistent torque, if you like. And I'll let you know that rattle is just the loose anchor nuts. If any of them are loose. That's all nice. Now what I'll do is try and pull the rubber out. Do I need to? I may not need to. That's really good. Okay. Boom shakalaka. If that's not straight, I'll blame the suspension. I'll use my digital level, my crosshairs. I lifted it up a bit to sit where I wanted to sit. I'll just pop rivet that on. I've got flat going on to round, but you don't want it to come off because that could wreck your day as well. Just pop rivet that on. Sometimes I amaze myself. The highs and lows of aeroplane building. Fellow Russell Crowe, are you not impressed? How cool is this? Okay, so I've just eyeballed a little aerodynamic piece. I made it 150 long. Where are we? Up here. I just eyeballed it so it sort of looks right. 50 in the front, 100mm in the back. I can see my breath in the hanger now. What is going on? It's 12:30, midday, spring in Australia, and it's 11 degrees. All right, so back on the wood, quick template. Put in some balsa from home. Probably had this about 5 years now. Still relatively straight. And the plan there is digging around in my odds and sods. Some maybe 4mm rod. A couple of nuts I found. They'll be changed with lock nuts eventually. A bit of arrow shaft or carbon fibre rod, which you get the idea, that fits inside. So if I cut whatever I need, all that there, that width, 40mm, divided by 1/4 inch, I'm working in both. Make a sandwich. I'll glue this in the centre. Then what I'm going to try and then I'll put the rod in. Then I'll put it in the vertical drill and use that as a lathe and try and just sand it to shape that way. You know, with a bit of 40 grit or 80 grit should sort the balsa out pretty quick. And then saw it in half. The reason for the tube is then I can bolt it back together, picking up the centre hole up there. I may have to notch out for the cables. We'll stain it up. Fun little job. Just get some, you know, whatever the stain is, and probably a silver nose, silver tail. That's the plan. How nice as a balsa to work with again. Beautiful. All right. Make up a little kit so you get the idea. Sandwich that. If that's 4mm, I'll put a 4mm spline in the middle here. I think I'll just lay that up tonight. I know I could do it with sino and stuff, but I'm in no hurry, and we'll get that sort of result. Then I'll try and turn it in the wheel and see what happens in the drill. All right, bit of a quick job. I'm just sort of stacking this up. You can see there, I had some 3mm and 1.5mm, equals about the width of the tube. All my glue's going off in the cupboard, unfortunately. This is Gorilla Glue. I just use that for the tube, and the rest I'm just using white wood glue. I could use Sino, but my Sino as well in the cupboard here. As you can imagine, get every glue known to man. I might have thrown it out. Yeah, all my Sino. Just turn to jelly. Probably should put it in the fridge, I know, but I have got a new bottle in the fridge there. But once I open it, you know the drill. Generally I pack up when I go home, so I'm about to knock off today. Weather's terrible. Sandwich that, bucket of Clicos on top. To help with my process, I just leave myself little breadcrumbs, if you like. So I generally, like I said, I generally clean up. I come in tomorrow, I keep all my templates, just throw them under the bench or something, because, you know, this could fling out of the drill, I have to make another one. So I've got heaps of templates for the aircraft hanging on the wall. When I come in tomorrow, I know this is ready to, you know, a rough cut. Obviously it's cut that way. What I'll do is turn that stack 90 degrees, put this on top, bandsaw, yeah, to make a cube is what I'm trying to say, top and sides. And then got enough shank there to, my plan is to put it in the vertical drill and then use whatever, a file or something, and just make it a cylindrical shape like that. It'll make a lot of mess. And then bandsaw it in half, screw it together, paint and prime, good to go. But how good is she looking? All right, really rough cut. I think it might be time to cut this line here while it's flat. I'll cut it, bolt it back together, and then sand it. Alright, it sort of seems to be working. I just secured it at the bottom with another bearing sort of surface. Probably higher revs, but I can't be bothered changing the drill. And there is a solid B+, I reckon. Beautiful. I just use my permagrit. It's a bit hunky-dory to get it round. A bit of, I don't know, 80 or 120 grit, and then 40 grit just to finish it off. It's a little bit, because I've crushed the wire down and knocked it out of place a bit. But it doesn't spin when it's fitted, so I'm really happy with that. Didn't know how it was going to turn out, but that has worked well. And I guess what I probably need to do is mark it, because that'll pull apart now, believe it or not, at the like 1/3, 2/3. So I should pull it apart and just mark it sooner rather than later. All right, that is pretty good in my books. So I will, like I said, I'll pull it apart, just mark it. It's got a spline there, so it's not there's only two ways it could go potentially. Before I go dinging it up too much, I will put some stain on that. Really happy with that. All right, stained her up. Once again on the practice pieces, that's actually the stain that's on the aircraft. So it just shows you that different wood reacts differently to that's cedar on there and cedar on there. Two different types of wood. Bunnings plywood, 3mm ply, and I think that was 1.5mm eucalyptus. Different colours, same stain, and then that's the same stain on just raw balsa wood. So lucky I checked. I wanted more of a sort of piney hardwood colour to make it look like piney hardwood. It might look like I'm mucking around a bit here, guys, but I actually enjoy this. So now I'm just going to, it'll screw back together. If that's 4mm, I'll drill a 4mm hole through the crosshairs, cut the wire to length, screw it up. I may even just glue one end permanently in to stop it spinning. I get, well, that won't work, but I'll just put lock nuts either end, actually, that'll work. And I'll probably paint just a silver tip and a silver tail. Try and get that done today, and then a couple of clear coats of, with cedar, the clear cedar stain. What is it? Not polyurethane, it's got a cabot stain is what I'm thinking of. Alright guys, that wraps up another video. Got a lot done this week. Little torpedo things over there drying. We're going to look at putting on the wings next, I guess. I'm waiting for the weather to clear up. I just need to push it out for one more day of engine runs, or one more session, if you like, of engine runs. While I push it out, I'll pull the wings out, get them on the bench. That'll get me motivated to sort out the hardware, and we'll put the wings on. That'll be sometime in the future. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your comments, and we'll get there in the end.